Today we are going to make, or you are going to make, a 40 by 60 inch blanket. And so I want you to go grab your yarn. You need 240 yards. I'm not telling you the number of skeins because every brand of yarn does it differently. Bernat, which you get at Michael's, comes in 32 yards per skein. Yarn Bees at Hobby Lobby is 28. Others are 25, 26. I mean, you get the point. But just make sure you have 240 yards for a 40 by 60. And you're gonna be able to do this even if you've never knitted before. This is something anybody could do. I was not a knitter. I hated needles. I found this and I love it. And so let's get to it, okay? Okay, so I forgot to add that the other things that you're going to need for this project is you want a lighter, which I will explain later. You want a good pair of scissors because you want it to be able to make some nice clean snips. And I always like to keep a tape measure around. So I'm going to push those aside. And I'm just going to pull out this, this square that I made for a different project, just because I want to show you what we're going to be doing today. This is a smaller scale, of course, but this is the knit stitch, and this is your basic chunky knit pattern. We are going to create it so that you have this really pretty braid around the entire edge. And just a little side note, if you were to turn the knit pattern over, the other side is the purl stitch, which I personally just love because I love the texture of it. So I just wanted to show you that. So let's get working. So first you're going to find where you can pull the yarn out, and sometimes that is a mystery, and I thought I made it easy for myself on this one, but I guess I didn't. But basically I'm going to start by pulling out about 2 yards of yarn so I have something to work with. And every single project that you make with chunky knit, actually any crochet or knit pattern, is a slip knot. You're going to need to start with that. It doesn't matter if you're making a pillow, stuffed animal, backpack, sweater, blanket, you're going to start with the slip knot. So let's do that. You're going to put your yarn into just like a little hill. This would be called your tail. This side is your working yarn. And what you are going to do is you're going to take your working yarn, you are going to cross it over the tail to make a loop. You're going to grab the yarn where it meets. You're going to take your working yarn, you're going to put it down, under, and through the loop. And then you'll grab it, pull it, let go with this hand, grab the tail and working yarn, and then you want to pull up. And you don't want to be Hercules or anything and make a really tight knot. You just want to gently pull it up so that it's secure. And then to make this smaller, you can pull down on the working yarn. I'm going to do that again because I don't know about you, but the first time I did it, I was like all over the place. It didn't make sense. So let's do it one more time. So we're going to put it in the hill. We are going to cross the working yarn over the tail. We are going to grab it where the two meet, take the working yarn, put it down, under, and through the loop, capturing it, letting go with the one other hand, grabbing both the working yarn and the tail, and slowly pull it up. There you go. So when I'm doing my blankets, I like to make my first loop about 3 fingers wide. And so for me, that is about a 2.5 inch loop. And that's what works for me. I like to do my blankets medium to tight. If you want a looser blanket, of course, make it bigger. But for this project, we're going to use the 3 finger method. So that's our first loop. We're going to want to do 32 loops on our beginning chain. So we're going to take the working yarn down through the loop, pull it up and out. And again, checking for 3 fingers. We're going to do it again. I like to take my fingers and just push it through the hole, grab it, pull it out, and check for 3 fingers. And that's the way that I will go through doing this. So pull out 3, 3, and again, I'm pushing up through, grabbing, checking for 3, pushing through, grab, check for 3. There's a little piece of yarn. And so I'm going to do this until I have 32. And just so you know, I didn't say this before, when I talk to people at festivals, and actually when I talk to friends that have tried to do this, they say that they give up at this point because they don't feel like they're able to do the chain. Don't give up. Just give yourself patience. Understand that you're trying a new project, and just keep going because it's worth it. So how many do I have so far? So to count, I am going to look at these top bumps and I'm going to count them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 20 more. Okay, pull it through, 3, through, 3. Again, pushing through, 3. And take your time. I know I'm doing it probably faster than you, but that's because I've made about 100 blankets. And if you feel like you're not making loops that you like, just start over. Don't give up. The first 2 rows of a blanket are the hardest rows to do. Once you get those 2 rows done, then you're all set. Oh, I'm going to need some more yarn. And again, I'm using my left hand, pushing the yarn up through the middle of the hole, grabbing it, pulling it out till it's about 3 fingers. I should probably stop and count and see how many I have right now. Okay, so we're going to start over here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Okay, so I'm going to measure this because I want to explain something to you. So excuse all the material in the background. I was packing up some shipments, so sorry about the mess. So we're making a 40-inch blanket. 32 measures 37 inches for me. So that's actually perfect because with the chunky knit stitch, the basic stitch, your yarn will grow. Or excuse me, your blanket's going to stretch. The yarn doesn't grow. The blanket stretches as you will continue to build on the blanket. So you're always going to start with a blanket that is not 40 inches, but much smaller. Some people start with 30 loops. I just do 32 because I find that will make sure that I have a 40-inch blanket. The other thing I want to say is if you find your chain right now is starting to turn inward like this, curve, that means your loops are too small and it's too tight. And so it's making it curve. So just tear it out, start over, and try and make them 2.5, 3 inches in length. Okay, so now we are going to do the second row. And so we are going to flip our chain over, and we are going, and this is how we are going to make the beautiful braid at the end. So we are going to be knitting second row, through this middle, I don't know if you could see it, these middle stitches right there. People call them the dragon humps. Okay, so we're going to start with this one right here, and we are going to take the working yarn and push it through and pull it out. And I pull it out so it's about 2 inches. Again, you're going to go to this middle piece right here. You're going to lift it up, take your working yarn, push it under that piece, and just, you kind of have to work it through, pull it out till it's about 2 inches. The key here is to try and make the loops all the same length. And again, just remember, this is the hardest part of making a blanket, so please don't give up. Come on, keep going. Again, middle, grab it, push under, work it in, and pull it out. Here's the next one right here. Under, push it through. Don't get frustrated with yourself. Remember, this is a brand new task or hobby you're learning. And if you're like me, you're going to get addicted to it because it just feels so good to play with this yarn. It's so soft and cozy. And once you get the hang of this, it just becomes really relaxing. And during the pandemic, I found it just to be a great mindful practice to keep me kind of in the present and stop my brain from spiraling. Okay, so then here, push it through. And sometimes it's hard to find the thing because it gets all wobbly, and just place it down, flatten it out, and then you'll be able to see the middle loop again. Oops, okay. And once you get this down, you could start putting music on or your favorite podcast, and you'll be able to have a great time while you do this. Okay, so that one looks funny. Let me check that out. Yep, that's still the middle one. Okay. Pull up, push through. This is probably the most tedious part of making a blanket, at least for me it is. Okay. Okay. Almost there. And then we're going to count again. And luckily with the knit stitch, it doesn't have to, you're not working with a pattern, so the count isn't as important, but it helps to keep counting just to let you know if you've dropped a stitch. And I'm going to show you how to fix a drop stitch in another video. Okay, and then this is our knot. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and then we always count this last one, 32. Okay, so now we are going to start our first row. And see, this is a beautiful braid that's going to be at the edge of your blanket. Okay, so the knit stitch. We're going to take our working yarn and we always put it in the direction that we are knitting. The reason for this is, number one, it just keeps the yarn kind of, what's the word, tidy, I guess you could say. The other thing is if you get up and leave the table and come back, if this will tell you what direction you're knitting in, because sometimes when you're first starting, it can get confusing. So this is going to confuse you, but we're going to drop this stitch. We're not going to do anything with it at this time. This stitch is going to be making the side braid. So we're going to pick it up when we come back. And so I will explain that to you. So ignore this one, move to the second stitch. You're going to take your knitting yarn. I'm just loosening mine up a little bit. And you're going to, from the back, you're going to push it through the loop and you're going to pull up. Okay, so go to the next one. You push it from behind through the loop and pull up. And that wasn't very clear. Let me show you this here. So here's my loop. I'm going to push it from behind through the center of the loop and I'm going to pull up. Push it through the center and pull up. Through the center and pull up. What I like to do to make sure that my stitches are tight is I use my left hand, one of the fingers, to guide the yarn into the center and pull up. Some people like to just reach through, grab, and pull up, but you'll see that there's kind of some space there, which is great if you want a loose blanket. I like mine tighter, which is why I choose to push it through, kind of guide it over and then push it through. The other thing I'm doing is I'm pushing these two loops together so that, again, it's tighter. So blankets, the tightness of a blanket depends on two things. And you could just keep knitting while I talk. So it depends on the height or how big the loops are. And so, for instance, a loop like that is going to be a much looser blanket. The other thing it depends on is horizontally how tightly these loops are, and I pull mine close together and pull through. Again, if you want a looser blanket, just ignore that and you can just do it looser. So we're going to continue. And I'll stop talking so we can get through this. Sorry. I love to share because I've learned so much in the last couple of years. Push through and up, under, up and out, push through the center, up, pull it out, push through the center, up and out. And there's going to get to be a time where you're able to know, just kind of muscle memory, like what action, how far you pull out will be the size loop you want. And I'm sorry, my dog's barking in the background. Right now, these are 2-inch loops. I just know that because that's what when my thumb is up there, I know that that's 2 inches. And again, that's just because I've made about 100 of these blankets. So we're just going to continue. Pushing through, pull up, push through, pull up, and we're almost at the end, and I want to show you something there. Okay, so this is going to be the loop for the side here, and so when I pull that up, I kind of pull mine out and kind of put it on the side like that. one of the tricks I want to tell you. So sometimes you'll get to this loop, and just because, who knows why, it's really big and kind of wobbly, and you think, oh, that looks terrible. You know, it looks too loose. So one trick that you can do, if this is a lot bigger than you want, just twist it and then knit through it. And that will bring it closer to your blanket, and nobody will know the difference. So I've done that loop. Now I'm going to go to the next, and I'm going to just go back. And I'm going to take my yarn. I'm going to put it in the direction that I'm going, which is now to my left. And where am I? Here I am. And I'm pushing my loops together, guiding it in and pulling up. Let me get on top a bit more. Okay. So I'm still guiding the yarn over and pushing these close together. And again, that's just my preference. You don't have to do it that way. Oops. Okay. And I'm just going to take you to the end of this row because I want to show you what we do with that stitch that the very first stitch that we kind of left behind. We're going to bring him back into the blanket. And then also when we get here, I forgot to have us count the first time. You want to count to make sure you still have 32 loops, because when you're first starting, it's really easy to drop a loop. And so we'll do that in just a sec. So here's the guy that we totally forgot. Now in order to pick him up, we're just gonna push the yarn through and pull it up. And that's all so he's back in action with us. But let's stop and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32. So I'm good. There's no drop stitches in the back. Okay, so I want you to continue to do your knitting until you run out of this skein. It's probably going to be about 4 or 5 rows. And when you get to the end of that skein, I want you to come back and I'm going to show you how to add a new skein of yarn. Okay? So in order to do that, I am going to cut here and pretend I'm at the end of my skein. I'm going to grab my lighter. Okay, so there's 2 ways that you can add yarn, and it really just depends on your own preference and comfort level. So one way you could do it is to tie them together. And to do that, you would just cross them over and you would tie a knot, just like you would do. So under, tie a knot. Oops. And you would do it as tight as you can. And then you would snip as close as you can to that knot. And that's great. That's one way to do it. The reason I don't do that is I don't like having this hard piece of knot in my blankets. So I choose not to do it, but you certainly can. So I'm going to snip that off, and I'm going to show you how I do it with a lighter. Now, don't worry. So when you light this, it's not going to just suddenly catch on fire and start going really fast. It's actually a very slow burn. You're going to want to make, oh God, my nail's dirty. Sorry about that. I was working in the yard. So you're going to want to find this plastic. If you push on it, you'll feel a little hard piece of plastic, and you want to feel it on both sides. You're going to take your lighter, and you're going to, you want to try and light that plastic. And I'm going to do it on both sides. And again, see, it's not burning really fast, so I'm not going to panic. And then you let it burn a little bit, and then you push them together, and it's hot, so be careful. It is, oh gosh, you can't even see it. Okay, there you go. Push them together, and then, oops, that is hot. And then you're going to push them, be careful, and just push them together. But that plastic can create some hard edges, and you don't want that. So you want to put the yarn in your palms and roll it so that you're creating a cylinder instead of like a hard block of plastic. Okay, and then it's super strong and ready to go. So I want you to continue knitting. And the next time I see you is going to be when you have gone through all your skeins and you are ready. You're probably going to be around 59 inches. You're not going to be totally ended with your skein, but you're going to be at, I want you to come back here around 59 inches. And to measure your blanket, you're just going to measure along the side with your measuring tape. Okay? So I will see you when you are back and ready to go. Okay, so you should be around 59 inches, 58, 59, ready to close off your blanket, and that's what we're going to do now. And ideally, what you would like is to be able to have enough yarn left to be able to go at twice the width of your blanket. Actually, preferably 3 times your blanket, but don't worry because I'm going to show you 2 tricks. Let's say you do not have enough to do that, so you can't do the traditional closing of the blanket. I'm going to just show you a trick. Let's say you only have enough to maybe go 1.5. What you're going to do is take this last loop and you're going to just put it through on top of the next loop, and you'll pull that loop through. And then you'll do the same here. Pull it through. And you can go through and finish the blanket that way. That is not ideal. I'm going to show you the way that we want to do it. And it's worth, if you don't have enough and you don't have any yarn left, it's worth making the blanket a little shorter in order to have this really nice border. Okay, so this is the way you'd like to be able to end your blanket. You're going to make this final loop, you're going to make it a little bit bigger than normal. So this is now about 3 fingers. I want to be able to lay that on top of the next loop. I then will take the working yarn and I'm going to put the working yarn through both of those loops. And again, I'm going to make a bigger loop than normal because I want it to be able to lay on the next one. I don't want to pull it over to the next one. Finny, I'm sorry, Finny's playing with his bone in the background. It's going to drive you crazy. Oh, Finn, please stop. Thank you. So you're going to pull up through, make a bigger loop, place it on the next loop, and you're going to pull through the back. Why this many? Okay. Pull it on top through both the loops and pull up. If that feels a little awkward, here's the other thing you can do. It's the same outcome. Push the yarn through the back of the first one and then pull it through. So I'll do that again. Pull yarn through to make a loop, take that loop and pull it through this loop, and then push it over. Or you could do it the way I feel comfortable doing, and that is just placing them on top of each other and pulling the yarn through both of those loops. Let me just try and show you a different angle. So I have them situated on top, pushing through both, pulling up. And again, I'm not pulling over, I'm placing. And it's okay if these are big loops. It's going to make a beautiful braid. Sorry. Now the Gretel and Finn are playing. Okay. So you're just going to continue to do that all the way to the end. And if you run out of yarn, which I might do myself, and you have other yarn, then you would just put it together like you normally would with a lighter or with a knot and continue on your way. So yeah, I don't know if I'll have enough. So then I want to show you what you do at the end. Wouldn't you know it? Look at that. I have what, 3 more loops left, and luckily I have some yarn right here, and I'm going to cut this one. Come on. Come on. Why don't you want to light? There you go. All right. And push those together. Gingerly. God, my nails are bad. I'm so sorry, you guys. I was trying to plant some bulbs. Okay. And I'm shaking the camera all over. Okay. There we go. And the mailman's here. Hey. Okay. All right, so now we are at the last one. We are going to lay them on top of each other. We are going to push it through and get that loop. And that's as far as you're going to go on the loop. Then you're going to take your working yarn and you want to cut probably so you have about 6 inches. You're going to take the yarn, go through the loop, pull, and I just usually go, and you want to pull tight, and you're going to make a knot with that, okay? And then you're going to hide, I'm going to make this shorter, that's way too long. And then you're going to turn it over, and I like to start by weaving it through, but because I don't, and you can do that, a lot of people just weave it and leave it. I don't want this to come loose and have somebody have this thing trailing behind. So I like to light it and then find a way to kind of hide that, oops, careful, it under. And then that is the end for that one. Don't forget, this is our beginning. You want to do the same to your beginning tail. And now in front of you, this is a 40 by 4 little strip, but you should have a 40 by 60 blanket that you made all by yourself and that you should be very proud of. And I hope it just, you just enjoy some cozy moments with it. And please come back because I'm going to continue to upload a lot of tricks and patterns and different things that I enjoy making. I just want to share everything that I've done with you. You're fabulous and enjoy. Thanks. Today we are going to make, or you are going to make, a 40 by 60 inch blanket. And so I want you to go grab your yarn. You need 240 yards. I'm not telling you the number of skeins because every brand of yarn does it differently. Bernat, which you get at Michael's, comes in 32 yards per skein. Yarn Bees at Hobby Lobby is 28. Others are 25, 26. I mean, you get the point. But just make sure you have 240 yards for a 40 by 60. And you're going to be able to do this even if you've never knitted before. This is something anybody could do. I was not a knitter. I hated needles. I found this and I love it. And so let's get to it. Okay.